Listen to me. Before we even start, I need you to lock in. Don't just sit there with your ears open. Sit there with your heart open. Because what I'm about to tell you, if you catch it, if you let it hit you, it could change your whole life. See, the problem ain't your talent. The problem ain't your resources. The problem ain't even your circumstances. The real problem is the way you see yourself. You don't hear me. You've been walking around with blinders on, seeing a version of you that's smaller than who you really are. And until you shift that picture in your mind, until you decide to see yourself different, nothing on the outside is ever going to change. I'm telling you right now, some of you have been living beneath your potential for years. Not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, but because you don't believe you're worthy of more. You've been carrying the weight of your past, the lies people told you, the labels they put on you, and it's shaping the way you move. But tonight, I came here for one reason, to help you tear those labels off, to help you break that image down, and to rebuild the way you see yourself. So don't you dare tune me out. Don't you dare get distracted. I promise you, if you give me your full attention, if you stay with me till the end, you will walk away seeing a different you. And when you change the way you see yourself, you change everything. Listen to me, because this right here is where so many people get stuck. You wake up in the morning, you drag yourself into that bathroom, and you look in the mirror, and what you see is not your reality. It's not your destiny. It's not even the truth. It's just a reflection. But you've been treating that reflection like it's the full story of who you are. And that's the trap. You see the tired eyes. You see the scars. You see the mistakes. You see the weight of all the failures. And you convince yourself, this must be who I am. But I came to tell you, what you see is not always what you are. That mirror can't show you the fire that's buried inside of you. It can't show you the hours you survived when you should have quit. It can't show you the resilience, the drive, the future that's waiting on you. All that mirror shows you is what's on the surface. But if you keep believing that surface level version, you'll keep living small. You'll keep walking like you're ordinary when everything in you is screaming that you're extraordinary. The reason so many people never break free is because they don't realize that the way they see themselves is the prison. You've been living as if your past mistakes define you. You've been walking like your setbacks have written your story. You've been letting the reflection of yesterday dictate your vision for tomorrow. And that's why you never take the shot. That's why you never step up. That's why you keep shrinking when opportunities show up, because deep down, you don't see yourself as the person who's capable. But let me make it plain. You are not the divorce. You are not the benediction. You are not the one bad decision you made 10 years ago. You are not the person your parents failed to see. You are not the label your teacher put on you. That reflection in the mirror, that's temporary, that's surface. That's just the shell. But your reality, the real you, is way deeper, way stronger, way greater than what any mirror could ever reflect. Some of you, right now, you're listening to me, but you're still doubting yourself. You're thinking, yeah, but you don't know what I've done. You don't know the stuff I've been through. And you're right, I don't. But I know this, if you're still breathing, it means there's still purpose in you. If you woke up today, it means God's not done with you yet. And if He's not done, then who are you to quit on yourself? Who are you to decide that the reflection is all there is? See, the problem is we let other people's vision of us become our own vision of us. Somebody told you weren't smart, and you started living like you're not smart. Somebody told you you weren't going to make it, and you started walking like you're not going to make it. Somebody told you you were average, and you started lowering your standards just to fit that box. But let me tell you something. Other people's perception of you does not have to be your reality. The way they see you has nothing to do with the way you were created. Stop living by their vision and start living by yours. And I know it's not easy, because when you've been told something long enough, when you've seen yourself fail enough times, you start to believe that's all there is. But I need you to flip the script. I need you to stop letting that reflection tell you who you are and start telling that reflection who you are. I need you to look at yourself in the mirror and speak life. I need you to remind yourself, I'm more than what I see. I'm more than what I've done. I'm more than what I've lost. Not critics. I'm more than what they said. Do you realize that some of the greatest people in history didn't look like much when they started? They didn't have the right look. Not critics. They didn't have the right background. They didn't have the right circumstances. If you looked at them in the mirror at the beginning, you wouldn't have seen anything special. But the difference between them and everybody else is they refused to let the reflection dictate their reality. They saw beyond the surface. They believed in something deeper, and they acted like it was already theirs. That's what set them apart. And you can do the same. But it starts with changing the way you see yourself. Because if you see yourself as average, you'll settle for average. If you see yourself as broken, you'll keep living broken. If you see yourself as incapable, you'll never even try. But if you see yourself as someone with power, someone with value, someone with purpose, someone with greatness inside, your actions will align with that. You'll walk differently, you'll talk differently, you'll grind differently, because your self-image sets the standard for your behavior. Stop letting that mirror keep you locked up. You are not just what's visible to the naked eye. You are strength. You are resilience. You are potential. You are purpose. But until you start seeing it, you'll never start living it. And that's why I need you to wake up tomorrow morning and not just glance in the mirror, but confront it. Look yourself in the eyes and decide, I'm done seeing the smaller version of me. I'm done living like I'm less. From today forward, I'm going to see myself the way I was meant to be seen. Because here's the truth. You'll never rise above the way you see yourself. You can't build a mansion if all you see is a shack. You can't walk in power if all you see is weakness. You can't step into your future if all you see is your past. The image you hold of yourself is the ceiling for your life. Raise that image and you raise your life. Lower that image and you lower your potential. It's that simple. So the question I need you to ask yourself tonight is this: how do I see me? Not how do they see me? Not what the mirror shows me, but how do I see me? Because the moment you change the way you see yourself, that's the moment everything else starts to change. And until you do, you'll keep chasing goals, but never believe you deserve them. You'll keep grinding, but sabotage yourself right before you win. You'll keep dreaming, but never step into it fully. Why? Because deep down, the way you see yourself won't allow you to. That's why this matters. That's why you can't just hear these words and let them go in one ear and out the other. This has to be the night, the moment, the turning point where you finally say, I refuse to keep living beneath my potential. I refuse to let my reflection limit my reality. From this day forward, I choose to see me differently, because the second you change the way you see yourself, you've already started changing your life. Let me tell you something real right now. The greatest battle you will ever fight will not be with another person. It won't be with your boss. It won't be with your environment. It won't even be with the obstacles you face out there. The greatest battle is the one happening in your head every single day. That's where the war is. That's the battlefield. And until you win up here, you will never win out there. Every morning you wake up, your mind is already talking. Before you even put your feet on the floor, that little voice is whispering, stay in bed, hit the snooze button, you're too tired, you can't do it, you'll never change. And most people don't even realize they've already lost before the day begins, because they surrender to that voice. They let that voice dictate their choices, their energy, their belief system. And then they wonder why their life looks the same year after year. It's not because they're not capable. It's not because they're not talented. It's because their mind is running the show, and their mind has been trained to expect less. You have to understand, your thoughts are not harmless. Your thoughts are seeds. Every single thought that goes unchecked starts planting something inside you. You think you're just telling yourself, I can't do it. But what you're really doing is planting doubt. And doubt grows into hesitation. Hesitation grows into procrastination. Procrastination grows into regret. That's how the cycle starts. But the opposite is true too. You plant thoughts of strength. You plant thoughts of possibility. You plant thoughts of determination. And suddenly you're moving with confidence. You're taking risks. You're chasing things that once felt impossible. All of that starts in the mind. This is why you can't afford to let your thoughts run wild. You've got to take control. You've got to train your mind the same way an athlete trains their body. Because just like muscles get weak, if you don't use them, your mindset gets weak if you don't train it. And most of us have been walking around with undisciplined minds, letting fear and negativity sit in the driver's seat. That's why you keep going in circles. That's why you take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, because your enemy is not outside, it's inside. But here's the truth. You have the power to rewire the way you think. You have the power to change the conversation in your head. You don't have to accept every thought that shows up. You can reject it. You can replace it. You can speak back to it. The same way someone tries to disrespect you and you stand up for yourself, you've got to stand up against those lies in your mind. When that thought says you're not good enough, you've got to speak back and say, I am more than enough. When that thought says you'll never make it, you've got to say, watch me. When that thought says it's impossible, you've got to remind yourself, impossible just means it hasn't been done by me yet. This is not motivation. This is strategy. Because if you don't take control of your thoughts will control you. And I don't care how disciplined you are in the gym, how hard you work at your job, how consistent you are with your goals. If your mind is against you, eventually you will sabotage yourself. That's why you see people quit right before their breakthrough. That's why people get opportunities they prayed for and then find a way to mess it up. Because deep down, their mindset wasn't ready to carry the blessing. Their mindset still believed they didn't deserve it. I need you to catch this. The world will never treat you better than the way you think about yourself. If you think small, you will attract small. If you think broken, you will keep living broken. If you think defeated, you will act defeated. But the moment you start thinking like a winner, speaking like a winner, walking like a winner, the universe has no choice but to respond to that. It all starts with your thoughts. And I get it. It's not easy to just flip a switch. Some of you have been carrying negative programming for years. Maybe it was the way you were raised. Maybe it was the environment you grew up in. Maybe it was the pain you've gone through. But just because those thoughts have been living rent free in your mind doesn't mean they have to stay there. You have the power to evict them. You have the power to say, no more. You don't get to control my life anymore. That's why affirmations matter. That's why a visualization matters. That's why what you listen to and who you surround yourself with matters, because your environment is feeding your mind constantly. If you don't control what goes in, don't be surprised at what comes out. You can't watch garbage all day, listen to negativity all day, and then expect to think powerful thoughts. You've got to be intentional. You've got to feed your mind the same way you feed your body. Every single day, you should be putting something in your mind that makes you stronger, sharper, more focused. Because the battlefield never closes. The war in your head is 24/7, and the only way to win is to stay armed at all times. Understand this. Your biggest victories will always come right after your biggest mental battles. That's why so many people quit too soon. The pressure gets heavy, the doubts get loud, the fear gets stronger, and they think that means they're failing. No, that means you're close. That means you're right there. That means you're on the edge of something great, and the enemy inside your head is doing everything it can to make you back down. That's the moment you've got to dig deeper. That's the moment you've got to talk louder to yourself than those voices are talking to you. Because the mind is not just a battlefield. It's the control center. Everything else in your life follows the direction of your thoughts. And if you can win here, if you can discipline your mind, if you can shift the way you think about yourself, then there is nothing out there that can stop you. You'll be unstoppable, not because life got easier, but because your mind got stronger. And when you get your mind right, your actions will follow. When you start believing you're capable, you'll start showing up with confidence. When you start thinking you're worthy, you'll stop settling for less. When you start seeing yourself as disciplined, you'll start making disciplined choices. Everything in your life rises or falls on your mindset. That's why the real battle isn't out there, it's in here. So every single day, I need you to wake up ready to fight those doubts, ready to fight that fear, ready to fight that inner critic that tells you you're not enough. Because when you win in your mind, you've already won everywhere else. And if you can change the way you think about yourself, you can change the way you live forever. Let me tell you something that's killing more dreams, destroying more confidence, and robbing more people of their greatness than anything else out there. It's comparison. Some of you can't even enjoy your own life, your own wins, your own journey, because every time you look around, you're measuring yourself against somebody else. And the crazy part is you're not even comparing yourself to who they really are. You're comparing yourself to the highlight reel they show you. You're sitting there scrolling, watching what they post, watching what they drive, watching where they live, and now you feel like you're behind, like you're not enough, like you don't measure up. But here's the truth. You'll never be able to see your own value if you're constantly staring at someone else's. And you'll never walk in your own lane if you're obsessed with somebody else's race. That's why so many of you feel heavy, like you're dragging chains. It's not that you're not gifted. It's not that you're not capable. It's that you're chained up in comparison. And comparison will always make you feel less than. I need you to catch this. Comparison is a thief. It steals your joy. It steals your gratitude. It steals your focus. Because while you're busy watching them, you're not working on you, not critics. While you're trying to measure yourself by their yardstick, you're ignoring the progress you've already made. And then you wonder why you feel stuck. It's because you're living someone else's story instead of writing your own. Think about it. When you were a kid, you didn't care if your drawing was better than the kid sitting next to you. You just drew. You didn't care if your bike was faster than your neighbor's. You just rode. You didn't care if your laugh sounded weird or if your clothes weren't perfect. You just lived. But somewhere along the way, people started whispering, look at them. Look at what they have. Look at how far ahead they are. And you started internalizing that. Now, instead of living your life, you're constantly auditing it against somebody else's scoreboard. But here's the problem with that. You don't know what they went through to get there. You don't know what battles they fought, what sacrifices they made, what pain they endured. You don't know if they're even happy where they are. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel, and that's never going to add up, not critics. And while you're wasting energy watching them, you're losing energy you could be using to become the best version of yourself. You have to understand this. Your race is yours. Your purpose is yours. Your timeline is yours. Stop trying to run someone else's race, because even if you win, you lose, because it wasn't meant for you. What good is it to cross a finish line that was never yours to begin with? That's why so many people look successful on the outside, but feel empty on the inside, because they climbed a ladder, but it was leaning against the wrong wall. They won the comparison game, but they lost themselves. And you don't have to play that game anymore. You don't have to measure your worth by someone else's progress. You don't have to shrink when someone else shines. You don't have to envy what they have, because what's meant for you cannot miss you. What's yours will always be yours, but you'll never get it if you're too busy chasing what belongs to someone else. This is why gratitude matters so much. Gratitude breaks the chains of comparison. When you wake up and start focusing on what you already have, who you already are, the progress you've already made, you stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. You stop feeling like you're behind, and you start realizing you're exactly where you need to be for your journey. Gratitude doesn't mean you stop striving. It doesn't mean you get comfortable. It just means you stop striving from a place of lack. You start striving from a place of fullness, from a place of confidence, from a place of knowing you've already been blessed. You've got to get to a point where you stop saying, I wish I was them, and start saying, I'm thankful I'm me. Because the world doesn't need another copy. It doesn't need you to be them. It needs you to be you. And the second you start walking in your own lane, focusing on your own path, owning your own gifts, that's the moment you start to shine in a way no one else can. Look, if you're always comparing yourself to someone else, you're always going to find a reason to feel small. There's always going to be someone richer, smarter, stronger, faster, further along. If that's how you measure yourself, you'll never win. But the only person you need to compete with is the person you were yesterday. That's the real standard. Are you better today than you were yesterday? Are you stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more focused? That's the question. That's the race. That's the battle worth fighting. The moment you shift your focus from them to you, everything changes. Suddenly you're not drained, you're driven. You're not jealous, you're joyful. You're not insecure, you're inspired. Because you realize your journey is not about keeping up, it's about showing up. It's about waking up every day and becoming more of the person you were created to be. And let me say this, because some of you need to hear it. You are enough. Right now, with what you have, with who you are, you're enough. Does that mean you stop growing? No. But it means you stop believing the lie that you need to be someone else in order to be valuable. Your worth is not based on their status. Your greatness is not diminished by their greatness. Just because they shine doesn't mean you don't. There's enough room. There's enough room for both of you. So stop letting comparison chain you up. Stop letting it steal your energy, your focus, your joy. Break free from it. Run your race. Own your lane. Walk in your uniqueness. Because the day you stop comparing yourself to others is the day you finally get to see the real you. And when you stop trying to be them, that's when you finally get to become you. Listen to me. This last piece right here might be the most important one because it ties everything together. You've got to see the future version of yourself and start becoming that person right now. Not next year, not when everything lines up, not when it's convenient, right now. Because if you only see yourself as the person you've always been, you will stay stuck as the person you've always been. That's the problem with a lot of people. They're waiting for proof before they believe. They want to see results before they change their mindset. They want the victory before they adopt the identity. But it doesn't work that way. You don't wait to see it and then believe it. You've got to believe it so strong that you start seeing it before it even happens. That's vision. And vision is powerful because your life will always move in the direction of the picture you hold in your head. If the picture you keep seeing is of someone average, someone who never quite gets there, someone who always falls short, then that's the life you're going to live. But if the picture you hold is of someone disciplined, focused, unstoppable, resilient, then eventually you're going to rise to meet that picture. It might not happen overnight, but if you keep seeing it, you'll keep moving toward it. That's why you've got to protect the vision you carry inside. I'm telling you, some of you are walking around blind. You don't see yourself beyond where you are. You don't see yourself beyond your paycheck, beyond your degree, beyond your neighborhood, beyond your current struggle. And that's why you feel stuck. Because if you can't see it, you can't seize it. If you can't picture it, you won't pursue it. That's how life works. You can't build what you can't imagine. Think about an architect. Before the building ever goes up, before the foundation is ever laid, they already see it. They've got blueprints. They know exactly how tall it's going to be, what it's going to look like, what every floor is going to hold. They see the end before the beginning. And that's exactly how you've got to start seeing your life. You've got to carry the blueprint of your future self in your mind. What does the best version of you look like? How do they carry themselves? How do they talk? How do they walk? How do they work? How do they treat people? How do they handle pressure? That's the person you've got to see. And here's the secret. You don't wait until you arrive there to start acting like them. You start acting like them now. You start walking like them now. You start making choices like them now. Because if you don't practice becoming them today, you'll never wake up and magically be them tomorrow. Transformation doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. Some of you keep saying, when I get the opportunity, then I'll be ready. When I make more money, then I'll be disciplined. When I get out of this situation, then I'll focus. No, it doesn't work like that. If you're not disciplined now, you won't be disciplined when the money comes. If you're not focused now, you won't be focused when the opportunity shows up. If you're not faithful in the little things now, you won't be faithful when the big things arrive. The future version of you isn't waiting to magically appear. It's waiting on you to start showing up today. That's why you've got to live by vision, not by sight. Sight says, this is who I am right now. Vision says, this is who I'm becoming. Sight says, look at my bank account, look at my circumstances, look at my environment. Vision says, none of that defines me because I see something bigger. And the people who live by vision, those are the ones who break through. Those are the ones who build things the world has never seen. Those are the ones who leave legacies. But the key is consistency. You can't see yourself as powerful one day and then go back to doubting the next. You can't hold the vision of greatness in the morning and then destroy it with negativity by the afternoon. You've got to keep that vision in front of you daily. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Remind yourself every single day of who you're becoming, because life is going to test you. Circumstances are going to try to make you forget. The enemy inside your head is going to whisper that you're not that person. That's why you've got to keep reminding yourself, I am becoming the best version of me. And let me be real with you. It's not always going to feel like it's working. Sometimes you'll be walking like the future version of yourself, but still living in present struggles. Sometimes you'll be speaking victory, but still surrounded by loss. Sometimes you'll be acting like the person you're becoming, but not seeing the results yet. And that's where most people quit. But hear me. Just because you don't see it yet doesn't mean it's not happening. Growth is invisible before it's visible. Seeds are buried before they sprout. And the same is true with you. Don't get discouraged because you're not there yet. You're not supposed to be there yet. You're in process. You're in preparation. And every single choice you make to align with that future version of yourself is building something inside of you. It's shaping your character. It's developing your discipline. It's creating momentum. And sooner or later, you're going to look up and realize you've become the very person you used to dream about. But it won't happen if you don't see it first. You've got to get clear about who that person is. Write it out if you have to. Describe them in detail. And then every single day, make decisions that line up with that identity. Because your future self isn't waiting on time. It's waiting on choices. The future you is simply the result of the decisions you're making today. Stop living only by what you see in the mirror right now. Start living by what you see in your vision. Stop letting your present define your future. Start letting your future dictate your present. That's the shift. That's the difference. That's how you move from where you are to where you're destined to be. Because the truth is this, if you can see it clearly enough, and if you commit to living like it's already yours, then one day it will be.